All right, we're live from 304 Studios in Jonesboro, Arkansas. This is an stspod.club production. Welcome to the 7th episode. That's right, 7th episode of Hit Me With Your First Shot. I'm the longtime producer of The Record Store. Each episode on this podcast features a guest that will bring me their first album they ever bought. We'll review and talk about it and have some fun. Today's guest is my longtime old buddy, Steve Crawford. He's bringing us back to, well, we did a little bit of an edit here. Not his first album, but he's going to say the first album that influenced him. Trust me, folks. It's a good one. Steve, how the hell are you, and what did you bring to us today?
Oh, I'm great. You know, I'm retired. I get up every day and I do whatever I want. It's a tough life, but somebody's got to do it. And so yeah, I'm gonna be talking about Cheap Trick today, which is one of my favorite things to do. Definitely the band that changed my life a lot. We'll talk about that.
Oh wow, yeah, I like that. I like the idea when you say something like that, and you know, being the 7th episode, we're kind of in just young when it comes to podcasting. But when I came up with this idea, it was people will bring me music. You know, even young people will bring me something totally different than someone our age.
Sure.
And it goes back. Either I'm going to be listening to an album. I had ELO. I've never went back and listened to the album. I only listened to it when I was getting ready to do the podcast. But this album, Cheap Trick, is one that I was a big fan of. You know, I'm a fan of Cheap Trick, and saw them. And I'm not a big concert person. I was when I was real younger, and I know you are, but I saw them once, and I'll save a story. I'll have to write down. I'm saving a story for Patreon about what happened at the Cheap Trick concert in Jonesboro. How's that?
All right,
let's get started. We're going to talk about here's something weird. Now, I always find something just odd that I discover for the first time when I'm listening to an album that I've listened to since probably 1980. But it came out in 1978, and it's called Cheap Trick at Budokan.
Right.
But I thought the name of this album was Cheap Trick Live at Budokan.
No. Just Cheap Trick at Budokan. Technically, it came out in 1979. It was recorded at 1978 concert, and I think it was released in Japan in 1978.
Yeah, and so hey, let me show you real quick facts that I know, and if you want to add something in there, we had, and at halftime we have some other fun stuff. The album peaked at number 4, sold over 3 million copies in the U.S., and was certified 3 times platinum across multiple countries, including U.S., Canada, Netherlands, Japan, and New Orleans. That's a country. New Zealand. Total known sales are roughly 3.6 million copies. In Canada, it earned 5 times platinum certification with about 500,000 units sold. It received tons of other certificates in countries like the Netherlands. It remains the band's, and I thought this was interesting, the best-selling album, and helped catapult Cheap Trick to the international fame.
Yeah, a couple of other things about it. In 2003, when Rolling Stone did their top 500 albums of all time, it was listed in that. And it's been selected for the Library of Congress to be preserved in 2019. So, yeah, pretty important document. The interesting thing was Cheap Trick had released 3 albums in the United States, and they had not broken through commercially. They had gotten some good record reviews and things like that, and they were becoming well known, but they hadn't had a hit record in the United States. But they had in Japan.
Right.
So when they go to Japan, it's just like Beatlemania over there. They get out the airport. There's like thousands of people there, and they're looking around thinking, "Is the president here?" Is that like who are these people here for?
That's something I wanted to talk about. The crowd. You know, when we come to wrestling podcasts, you do wrestling podcasts, me too. We talk about the crowd and how nutty they are.
Right.
listen to and we'll talk a little bit more about was it sweet and what they did with it later on, but just these Japanese girls were nuts
Yeah.
over these guys. I mean, all I could think of is bad things at first, because Cheap Trick was monster when they came on the stage, and you can hear the crowd just start getting more and more into it. Recorded in 2 days, we'll say that they took something for one and something for the other. So why did you choose this album? You said this was the first, not really your first purchase, but why? Can you remember buying it, and why did you choose it?
Well, I consider this kind of like my gateway drug album because I had been like this real like hyper nerdy top 40 kid. I would listen to the top 40 every week starting when I was about 10 years old. And I was like religious. That was my religion, like listen to the top 40. And I was so nerdy about it. I'd track which songs were up and which songs were down and all that sort of stuff. And then once Cheap Trick came out, I started getting more into hard rock, listening to more like the album-oriented rock. And then I started reading Rolling Stone magazine. And then I got really interested in music history. So they were kind of the band that started me down that path of kind of, I'm really a rock and roll fan now. I'm not like this, top 40 guy anymore. And, it's been a huge part. Music's just, as you know.
Oh yeah, it's as much part of you. Yeah, I can say wrestling's more important to me than music. But when I look at you, I say the opposite. I say music is Steve. That if music was exited Steve's life, I'm not sure what he would do, kind of thing.
That's right.
Here's a quick thing about your top 40 you was talking about. Me and two friends, Lloyd and Ronnie, were huge top 40. We listen to it every week. But we also have, in somewhere deep into, I don't know, a storage shed somewhere, we each week wrote down the top 10. We did this for 3 years. We did it. We wrote them down, Steve, and then we had our own top 10.
Yeah.
So we would have songs that, that it was just so fun. And my friend Lloyd actually changed his to just rock, not pop.
Yeah.
And so I got to probably credit, even though as a Kiss fan, I got to kind of credit him to, hey, listen to this guy. Listen to this. This is different. I don't remember where I got this album out or how I started listening to it. But I know it was on my repeat a lot at the time. Do you remember where you bought it at?
I was living in Rector, Arkansas at the time. Probably Kennett or Paragould, one of the, you'd go to like the Kmart or the Walmart, and that's where I bought most of my records when I was really young. So probably something like that. And what
was going on at this 78? What grade were you in? I mean, what was going on in your life?
Well, I was 13 years old. I was probably in ninth grade. Yeah, I was probably in ninth grade. I was busy not having any girlfriends. I was playing high school football, not very well. I was just I'm a remarkably average or under average person, and that's
Jerry Lawler joke. There's the only thing athletic about you is your feet. So there you go. That's me too. Can you remember, was it like cool to buy this album kind of thing?
Well, one of the things about the album was real interesting was they had this really long booklet that went with it. And the booklet was written in Japanese, but there were tons of pictures in it. And I was just fascinated with kind of like the band's image. Rick Nielsen was just hysterical to me, just the way he posed and looked and dressed and everything about him. And then you had the rock star guys, Robin Zander and Tom Peterson. Bunny Carlos looked like, some like cheap accountant or something, with
Robin was a big pretty boy,
Oh yeah, he was like
why the girls were screaming if you see a picture of him. So yeah.
Exactly. So I was fascinated by both their image and their music, and I think that's why they impacted me so much. It was like I'd never seen a band that looked like that. Kiss had the makeup, and that was really cool. But rock bands, all the guys kind of looked the same. Everybody had the long hair back then, and everybody kind of had the same style in the band. And these guys were kind of more individualized.
Do you think it was back then? It was more about the music, not what the guys looked like.
Well, yeah, I mean, it had to be in a way. It was before the MTV era.
Yeah, but I mean, you see a guy like Mick Jagger come on stage, and there's some magic there by just looking at him. But
right.
then you see what I don't know, some of the older bands, like you said, they were just long-haired guys standing around in t-shirts, and you're like, what?
Tell me what the lead singer of Kansas looks like, because
there you go. Right? Kansas is a perfect example. He could walk in the door right now, and I go, "Who the hell are you?" kind of thing. Right. All right, let's go to site. You bought this as an album, right?
I did.
Okay, I had it as an album.
Yeah, one more note about it. Actually, the recordings that were used were not from Tokyo. They weren't from Budokan. They were from Osaka, Japan. So, because they had different sets of tapes, and they were working with Jack Douglas, and Jack Douglas had produced their first album. He produced Aerosmith. He produced John Lennon, tons of people. And he said, okay, well, the tapes are much better from Osaka, so that's what we're going to use. And so it's funny, even though it's at Budokan, it's titled at Budokan, and that's what's made them famous. It really, the tapes are from Osaka, Japan. So that's
crazy. I didn't even see that in my research. I knew he was going to have some stuff that I didn't know, because you're good about that. Been listening to that ICW podcast. You have so many facts. All right, let's go into side A. Let me just say something before we get. Side B is my favorite. I just want you to know I'm probably not the only person that will say that. I love the front of that album. This album is "Are You Ready" from the MC to the guy. I always loved it on Kiss Alive. What is it? Greatest band in the land, Kiss, and I just love stuff like that. Yeah. They start out with a song called "Hello There." So the first song. And it actually says in the lyrics, "Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Hello there, ladies and gents." There's a line in this song, and you could correct me if I'm wrong. This is kind of the same lyrics as another song down the line, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, Good Night Now. Yeah, they kind of use as the intro and the closer. Kind of an interesting fact about the song "Hello There," and it's a great opening. It's like "Hello there."
Fires the crowd up. Yeah.
But the reason Rick Nielsen wrote that song was when they first started opening for bands like the Kinks and Queen and bigger acts in like 1977, they wouldn't get a sound check. So the way that song starts, first it's Rick Nielsen's guitar, then it's Bunny Carlos on the drums, then Tom Peterson bass kicks in, and then Robin starts singing and so it happens pretty quickly. But the sound guy can start kind of mix the sound while they're playing, if they don't have a sound check. So that's the origination of that song. But yeah, it's just a great concert opener, and they've used it, for decades. Generally, is the way they start their show. And
I love it. I just love I don't know why, but part of it is the introduction. I guess it may be a wrestling thing. It's a concert thing when they start introducing the main event kind of thing.
Yeah.
I love that.
The guy who did that opening was a roadie for the band. I mean, he had a great voice. He had that great hype voice. It's like, "All right, Tokyo, are you ready?" And I think his name was Kirk Dyer. Got it written down somewhere. But yeah, he was just a roadie for the band that did that. It wasn't like a professional announcer. But it sounds fantastic, and then, like you say, you've got all the screaming that's going on.
Oh man, the audience is going nuts, and you're just like, we're at a concert. That's the way you feel. Right. Second song is "Come On, Come On." I need your love. Come on, come on. High energy. Crowds into it again. Yeah. I think this song would be one of those songs that I may skip if it was on a studio. But it's something you want to listen to because it just something extra there with the live crowd.
Well, it's a very kind of Beatlesque kind of.
I didn't think about that, but you're right. Yeah.
Kind of early Beatles, kind of melodic pop song, a good kind of sing along song. So yeah, a very good crowd song, and that's why they were almost like two different bands at the same time. They could be this really aggressive hard rock band. And if you ever listen to their debut album, which most people have never heard because there's no radio hits or anything, but it's really hard, punkish energy.
Oh, and wow.
And then they could be this really bright pop band.
That's what I was going to say. This song is it reminds me of both the hard rock and the pop together.
Yeah.
And it was one of those things where, I would have never seen them as punk music. But I always considered them. I always thought Cheap Trick was just a little bit harder than pop, but they weren't hard rock. That's the way I always looked at them as.
Yeah, melodic hard rock. Yeah.
Yeah. Third song is Lookout. I love the crowd when this starts. They're so into everything. Look Out, Baby, I'm Coming for You. This is kind of one of those songs where, you want to see something serious about a song, but it really sounds, he's just saying, look, I'm coming for this girl. Right. I'll see you later. And the crowd is eating it up. They're just eating it up.
Yeah, and that song had never been previously released. So that was like a new song to the audience.
Oh, wow.
They had recorded it, I think, for their debut album, but they left it off of their debut album. So this was new in the Cheap Trick catalog. That song had never been heard before. And there's this middle section where he's rambling all these stream of consciousness type lyrics. And when you're really young, you're like trying to figure out, man, what's he saying? And it's just gibberish, but it's just cool stuff that he's singing there. But it's a good upbeat rock number,
There is, we'll get to it. There's some lyrics here I wrote down, and I had to write them down at my ripe old age of 59 years old because I don't remember these lyrics as being the lyrics. I don't know what they were, but all right, the next song, and I'll ask this question later, but I'm going to go ahead and answer it for me. This is my least favorite song, Big Eyes. I love the start of the song with the drum and the guitar licks, but it's just not my kind of song. You got big eyes and you keep on crying. I'm just like, not a fan.
I'm not a fan of that song either. And the thing is, they play that in almost every show, and I've seen Chip Trick probably 40 times. I don't know. I've seen them a lot, and every time they play that song, generally it's the second song, and I'm just like, oh, here we go again. It just never has been, it's one of my least favorite songs from that era, and certainly one of my least favorite songs that they do live. It's fun because of the energy of the crowd. Bunny Carlos is really laying it in on the drums, but yeah, I'm with you. It's just not a favorite for me.
All right, and this is the last song on side A is Need Your Love. I like this song. Like the start of it. I like the lyrics. It's kind of bluesy, and I love the ending of it. And I say this all the time, but there'll be songs that you hear that remind you of the 70s or of the, right there. And it's almost from, to me, 75 to 79, you can almost listen to an album and say, that's when it was. And that's what this song reminds me. And it also reminds me of, and I don't know if this has ever been said, but it reminds, one of the guitar licks, I'm hearing Bang a Gong.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, it could very well be.
And it may just be my ears, so who knows?
The vocals are interesting because, like, in the verses, it's like Robinson's very sweet kind of voice, like very pleading kind of voice. And then it switches and he gets really angry and like demanding and like, you're screwing me over. And, so it's like this different sides of the personality coming out. But yeah, those long extended guitar parts, very 1970s. You're right.
Very 1970s. We smoked a lot of weed and we're going to sit here and listen to this. I don't know their history with drugs. I don't have any idea, but it felt really like that time period. And I mean, I can almost hit it every time when someone plays me something. I'm like, yeah, we listened to ELO and I was like, yeah, this is 70s. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah,
guys, we're going to go to halftime. We're going to do 2 commercials, go to halftime, and when we get back, we'll go to halftime when we get back for the 2 commercials. Halftime is just 10 facts I found about this album. Get ready, wrestling fans. MCW is bringing you the action like never before. Experience the high-flying moves, the bone-crushing slams, and the rivals that can only be settled inside the square ring. This is family-friendly live professional wrestling at its very best. Don't just hear about it, be there when the superstars of MCW collide in unforgettable matches you'll talk about for weeks. Tickets are affordable, the action's nonstop, and the excitement is guaranteed. MCW Wrestling, where the future of wrestling happens now. Be there!
Don't miss Memphis Wrestling Live this Saturday, February 28th. WWE Talent Scout Gabe Sapolsky is conducting a pro wrestling seminar at the Wrestle Center. Register now. Limited spots are available. This Sunday, March 1st, Frankie Kazarian is coming to Memphis Wrestling. Friday, March 20th, don't miss Wrestling Night with the Memphis Grizzlies at FedEx Forum. Saturday, March 21st, join us at the Memphis Hustle Game at Landers Center, featuring live Memphis Wrestling. All tickets are on sale now. Get yours right now at memphiswrestling.tv.
All right, it's time for halftime. Yeah, I got Steve to dance with me. Damn, Eugene. Yeah, I played wrestling commercials on a music podcast. I mean, that's my bread and butter. I have to do that.
There you go.
10 facts, and then we go through them if you find something you want to add to them real quick. Originally, as you had said, it was released in 78 in Japan only, and they were bigger stars there before they really broke through over here. It says Beatlemania level hysteria for them, which you mentioned them getting off the plane and it being just who the hell's that kind of thing. Recorded, and Steve, you had a note that the recordings that they used was not at the Budokan, but it is, that's part of the title. But everyone believes it was the Budokan. So this was who else? What's another good live album from the Budokan?
Well, I don't know that there's another good one. I know Bob Dylan. Bob Dylan did like a double live album, which I've never heard. I've heard it's pretty dreadful. Columbia Records was the parent company of Epic Records, and in Japan they had decided that whenever somebody played at Budokan, they were going to release a live album on them. And I only know the Cheap Trick and the Bob Dylan. I know other artists later did record over there, but I haven't heard those records.
It said the reason they imported copies got so popular in the U.S. that Epic Records decided, hey, we need to put it out here and see if it'll sell. That goes back to I Want You to Want Me, which wasn't even a hit. The studio version wasn't. It flopped until the live version. And, man, the live version is so much better. No doubt why it was a hit. Triple Platinum, we talked about that. It peaked at 4, talked about that. I love it. It's, which I said a little bit about it earlier, but it come from 2 days. You know, people listen to live albums, and I'll talk to you about this. What you think? They'll listen to a live album, and me, I was dumb to it too. There's some engineering going on that happens, and sometimes it's sweetened a bit. I remember the Kiss Alive when they come up with all this knowledge that it was sweetened up a little bit here and there. There was an uproar about it on the internet. I was like, no, why? Do you want it to sound crappy? Is that what you want it to sound? So the band didn't love the idea about them getting doing a live album at first, but they ended up being, well, defining their career, being the biggest thing ever. And here is my question. It says it's considered one of the greatest live albums ever. So Steve, is it the greatest live album ever?
Oh man, that's I wouldn't say it's the greatest live album ever, but you know, there's so many varying opinions on that. You know, I don't have one that I go to and I go, this is my greatest live album ever. I don't have one that ranks that for me. But I wouldn't say this is, but I would say it's one of the most important historical live albums ever.
When I go to live albums, this one, and I'm not saying it's the greatest one. What I say is not, it's just what I listen to. This, if someone said, let's listen to a live album, it would be this one or it'd be Kiss Alive. Or Kiss Alive 2. I really like Kiss Alive 2, but Kiss Alive is really, to me, just, I mean, it was in Detroit. The crowd was nutty, and all the big hits are on there. Well, at that point, all the big hits were on there, and it's one of my favorite. But that's the 2 live albums I go to.
Yeah. If somebody pointed a gun at my head, I would say Jerry Lee Lewis Live at the Star Club, which was a 1964 album he did in Hamburg, Germany.
Oh, wow.
And it's just, the playing on that is just nuts. I don't know how much speed he was on. and the funny thing is, he's just playing these songs, and it just sounds like the band is literally on fire. And then between the songs, he's like, well, it's good here to be here at the Rockin' Star Club. It's just, the contrast is so funny.
Well, Steve, as we both know, lots of great music was made under the influence.
Absolutely. Jerry Lee had a lot of influences on it.
All right, here we go. Halftime. All right, the first, like I said, I like side B a lot better, or side 2, whatever you want to call it. Ain't That a Shame? They break into this. Ain't That a Shame? You play the heartbreak game, but rock and roll will call my name. It's a Fat Domino song, and it sounds like a Fat Domino song, the lyrics and everything, until they get a hold of it and they totally change it around. But it still sounds like the same song. The crowd, here's what surprised me about the crowd with this song. It's almost like they already knew the old song. Is that possible that these fans knew the Fats Domino song?
I'm not sure that, teenage Japanese girls really knew the Fats Domino song. I don't know. I think that the reason they covered it was really more because John Lennon had covered it in like 1975. John Lennon did an album, and I can't think of the title off the top of my head, but it was all like old rock and roll covers.
Oh, wow.
One of them. And then they arranged it in a way to be really a showcase for Bunny Carlos, the drummer. So in that intro, first it's Bunny, just playing the drums, and then the band kicks in, and then there's this various parts where Bunny's just pounding the snare, just like dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Fantastic live performance, just the way it builds into the song.
And you weren't the only. We're not the only one. This was a hit single, helped the band. Yeah. Everybody, when they heard this song, they knew it was Cheap Trick.
Yeah, they did an edited version. The live version's just like at 5 minutes, and they cut out some of the intro and then the outro, which goes on a little too long for my taste. But yeah, they edited the song and made it a top 40 single. Yeah.
I hated when they did that. I mean, even the censored songs, I just don't touch it. Don't touch my song, kind of thing. Especially if I like it. Yeah. So here's the hit to me, and probably the answer to my another question later on. But I want you to want me. I want you to want me. I need you to need me. The sing along. This was just huge in Japan. Apparently, the crowd was into it big time. So tell me about this. What do you know about this song? We do know that the studio version is not as good as this version, but what all do you know about it?
Well, that song goes back to their club days, like in 1975, before they even were on a record label. That was a song that they would have in their set, and they would jokingly, they would refer to it like, "This is our hit record." Like this is our pop song. This is our hit record song. Jack Douglas recorded it for the debut album, and he said, "No, we're going to leave this song for later." He wanted more kind of edgy material on the debut album, so they didn't release it the first time they recorded it. Then their second album, In Color, it was done with this producer Tom Werman, who did this just incredibly wimpy version of it. And instead of a guitar solo, it's got this god awful piano part in it.
Oh Lord!
And it's just terrible. It's just terrible.
To me, Robin Zander in this is just so much a rock star
singing
this song, and then the very front of the song, and you're just like into it. Now here's the lyrics, and I never sang these lyrics before. I'll shine up my old brown shoes. I'll put on a brand new shirt. I'll get home early from work if you say that you love me. I don't know what I sang back in the day. I have no idea. I tried to do it so I could come on here and say, but I couldn't really get into it. And I was going like you do when you don't know the lyrics. So I went to the lyrics and I said, "There's no way in hell I remember saying old brown shoes."
Yeah,
but
and Rick is referred to that as like almost writing about like a song from the 1930s. Like in the 1970s, nobody's wearing brown shoes, you know?
Right.
It was almost like this really old look at romance in a way, the way he was writing that particular lyric. Yeah, but certainly, you know, great performance. Rick always had like the little two stairs step thing that he would get up on these stairs and rise when he would play the solo, and you put the spotlight on him. And at that point, he was just a whirling dervish. He was just constant movement on stage. So when they're doing something like that, the crowd screaming, they're going crazy. And then Rick is just so visually entertaining. And then you just got this great pop rock and roll song. So, you know, everything came together. And that's the song that made them famous. You know?
Right. Yeah. Very much so. Another one of my favorites is the 8th track. They say this is a new song from our new. This is a new song from our new album, Surrender. I love the lyrics. Mother told me yes. She told me I'd meet girls like you. She also told me to stay away. You'll never know what you'll catch.
Right.
So, you know, and then it's always the line that I always loved was "Mama's all right, Daddy's all right." They're just a little weird. So, and I love that part of the song. I always loved this song. It was one of my favorite, and his favorite on the album. Also, one of my favorites on the album.
I tell people that, you know, there's 3 songs that are my favorite songs of all time, and they kind of rotate depending on the day. And one of them's Waterloo Sunset by the Kinks, and one of them's Born to Run by Bruce Springsteen, and Surrender is the other one. I mean, I just love this song so much. And it's like a coming of age song. It's like this song, this young kid, and he's kind of learning about life and about sex, and you know, he's, you know, learning that, you know, his parents are different, and, you know, that's okay. I really there's a funny part of this song that most people won't realize. Robin messes up a lyric on the song.
Oh, wow.
And they're talking about the WACs, which was the Women Air Corps in World War II. The Women Air Corps were women who were hired to do flying for non-combat purposes, like, you know, logistic flying and stuff like that.
Right.
And he says, they talk about, you know, father says the WACs recruited old maids for the war. And then Robin says, but mommy's neither one of those. I've known her all these years. And the reason we sing neither instead of isn't, the original lyrics were, I had heard the WACs recruited old maids, dykes, and whores.
Wow.
Thankfully, the line was changed to old maids for the war, which is a little more palatable to the public.
Wow.
So when you catch him singing neither, his mind's going back to the original lyrics of the song. So that's a funny part of it.
That's crazy. I would have never known that.
Just a fantastic rock and roll anthem, though. Just
yeah. We talked about this. Hello There, first track, has some of the similar lyrics to Good Night Now. So what I want to know, you're the expert on this. I know you've done a lot more research and listened to it, and probably had an article about this. Would you like to do a number with me?
Right.
So tell me, what's the meaning of that?
Well, it's got 2 different meanings, right? A number is a song. So I'm going to play this number for you, and a number is a joint. So, you know, it's a funny double entendre. Like, would you like to do a number with me? Would you like to smoke a joint and get high and get crazy? Or would you like to sing this song with me? So it's like, you know, it could be, you know, a square parent who was 40 years old could say, oh, yeah, he's talking about singing a song. And a 16-year-old kid's like, oh, he's talking about smoking a joint. You know? So, and they would do. There was a lot of like subtle humor, you know, of course, in Cheap Trick, and that's just one of those things that they did.
Little bit of I don't know. I wanted to say drum solo at the very end, but it's almost like a mini drum solo at the very end. He's going crazy, and then all of a sudden it just ends, and I'm like, if that was a real concert, we'd probably still be sitting here for the next 20 minutes for that drum solo. But yeah, I like the end of that. Last song, Clock Strikes 10. The clock strikes 10. The night's alive again. Is that the encore? They come out after that to do that?
Well, that was really one of their big hits in Japan.
Oh, okay.
And it was never a big hit in the United States. So they're saving that song for the Japan crowd for the encore. And it's it's just like Rock Around the Clock, Bill Haley song. It's just, we're going to party all night, just a very simple theme. Has the little like do do do, like a clock does, like a grandfather clock or something, as the riff in there. Just a very simple, basic rock and roll song, but they play it with a lot of energy and a lot of, it's
I thought that was the end of the album. I was like, I'm just listening to it, again. I think and then I said, oh, the encore. So there we go. Right. And I've listened to this album. What I do, my process of doing this show is I contact the person and I say, hey, what's the album? Do you want to be on the show? What's the album? They tell me. Then that becomes my theme for the next 10 days or 7 days or whatever. This morning I got up. I've listened to it twice since I got up this morning. And before we recorded, I had 2 other times into it and noticed something, especially those lyrics. It just didn't really know what they were. I had made a note about it. I was like, I gotta go see that. And then when I read it, I was like, I'm going to say this to Steve, and he's just going to laugh at me and say I'm crazy. But that is the lyrics. So there you go. All right, here's some questions here. What was the first track that you played, if you can remember the first song you played over and over?
It would have been I Want You to Want Me.
Me too.
But I probably have heard that song more than any other song that's ever been released, honestly.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Do you think the album holds up?
I think, yeah. Well, it's very nostalgic for me, but I think the music holds up. I think I like melodic hard rock, and so like a lot of the bands I like, even like punk bands like the Ramones or the Descendants or Husker Du, you can sing along with their music. It's aggressive, loud music, but you can sing along with it. And I think the fact that they had strong melodies, I think that makes it hold up.
You already kind of answered this, but here we go. Did it shape your future music taste, or was it just a phase? But you said this was the first one that influenced you to become a music fan.
Yeah, I think it really turned me on to a different world of music, because I was just listening to whatever top 40 was playing, Elton John or Billy Joel or ABBA or whatever. And then I started really exploring, and I went back and I started listening to the Beatles and Rolling Stones and Chuck Berry and everything. So it really led me down a path to becoming somebody that really had a broad range of musical taste.
Any specific memories tied to a song, like concerts? By the way, I'm going to tell you about my Patreon concert. If you're not a Patreon member, you might want to hear this. Any specific memories to a song?
It's kind of a funny memory, but the song "Lookout," the one we talked about that had never been released before, I always loved that song, and they hardly ever played it live. And at one point, I was on this message board, this Cheap Trick message board, and they were playing 2 nights in Rockford, and they said, put down 3 songs you'd like to hear, because they were going to vary up their set list. And I listed "Lookout" 3 times, and and I had some friends who were at the shows. And so they start playing "Lookout," and people are hugging me. They're so happy for me that they're playing "Lookout." So that was a fun memory.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah. Have you seen them in a small venue?
Yeah, I've seen them in a lot of different places. I've seen them in county fairs. Just a lot of different. Yeah,
I seen Skid Row at the New Daisy. And it's one of my favorite concerts ever, and I think it spoiled me. I seen John Cougar Mellencamp at the Orpheum. I was real close up, and it spoiled me because after going to see Guns N' Roses and sitting at the top of Pyramid, and I have to look at screens to watch the concert, and it's like, if I could ever see this person in this setting, I would pay big money for. I said that. And then when John Mellencamp came back to Memphis 2 years ago to do the Orpheum, oh my God, 2 seats were going to cost us close to $1,000. And I said, screw you, John Cougar Man account.
Yeah.
Anything, see, best track, what was your favorite track? And you've already said it, Surrender, right?
Yeah, and I think Epic made a big mistake in not releasing that as a single. They had released it as a single from Heaven Tonight, but it didn't crack the top 40. I think it stalled at like 65 in the charts. So most people really hadn't heard the song, and I don't know why they just didn't re-release that as a single, because I think with the momentum of I Want You to Want Me, I think it would have been a big hit, and I think they missed the boat.
I Want You to Want Me is my favorite song. It's not surprising. It was, to me, it's everything this band's about. If I want to think about Cheap Trick, I think about that song more than I do anything else. Mm-hmm. Skip track. I think we already said that. Big Eyes.
Yeah, that's definitely my skip track. That's for sure. but my wife laughs at me like whenever we're Cheap Trick go together and they start playing Big Eyes, she just looks at me and start laughing because I'm just
there you go.
I'm like this, like
that's so funny that we both hate the same song. I sent this question to you in advance. I couldn't even think of an answer to it. But take a current artist to do a cover of one of the songs. Who's the artist going to be, and what's the song going to be?
Yeah, I really went out there on this one. Taylor Swift has done a live version of I Want You to Want Me, but I thought Billie Eilish could do something with Look Out, because there's an underlying creepiness to those lyrics, and I thought she could do some like electronic version with the way she kind of does a lot of dark music anyway, and do something interesting with it. But that's
I don't listen to a lot of the current people. I don't hate on them either. I mean, especially someone like Taylor Swift, who I'm not a fan of her music, but I'm a fan of her as a business. I look at her as a business too, and you just can't hate on anybody like that. What's the cringe song on this? I've already said I think Big Eyes is the worst, but it's just one of those songs where you go, oh, I don't,
Yeah, that's the one we're beating up on today. But it's a shame that they didn't have any of the stuff from their debut album on this, because if they would have had Alo Kitties or He's a Whore, and I'm sure Epic didn't want He's a Whore on this live album.
No, they didn't. No.
Girls. But it would have been a better album if they would have done a few songs from their debut, and they'd recorded those. And there was actually a Cheap Trick Budokan 2 that was released years later, I think in the 1990s. They had some of those songs on them. And I think they could have replaced a few of those In Color songs and made it stronger.
I remember having that, but not listening to it a lot. I may have to go back and listen to it. You bought this on an album. We already asked that. And I always ask vinyl, cassette, CD, or digital. I'm going to say all of them. I had it on vinyl. I had it on cassette. I had it on CD. And I recently listened to it digitally. So a little bit of everything there.
I've had, 4 or 5 different versions of it over time. Yeah.
Album you bought after this one? Can you remember what you bought right after it?
May have been Dream Police, their follow-up album. That may have been the one I had. I went through a phase when I was 13, 14, 15. That Cheap Trick was basically all I was, I was listening to other stuff, but as far as buying records and when I was listening to my house, it was pretty much Cheap Trick, and then I'd make tapes of them, my favorite songs, and play them in the car and stuff like that. So, I was just obsessed with them for a few years.
Awesome. I love this question. So, if the album had a smell, what would it be? I got something. I just came up with something. What would it smell like?
Maybe a county fair. I don't know. I'm surprised. I don't know. Elephant ear, those things with all the powdered sugar on it.
Okay. Well, that's good. I'm thinking heavily perfumed Japanese girls. So there you go.
Absolutely.
They were screaming, boy. Final thoughts. If you could recommend this album to someone today that's never heard any would you tell them about it?
Yeah, I would say, I'd probably say start with the second side, just like, you did. But it like I say, it's in the Library of Congress. It's a historic album. It's a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame band. So if somebody's really interested in music and you're ignoring this because you don't think that's hip to you, or you don't think you're going to like it, I think a lot of people kind of underrate, the musicality of Cheap Trick and all that they accomplished.
I hope y'all can't hear Duke snoring, but he is snoring so loud. If you saw what I did, I just took a picture to send to the wife. Steve spent a lot of time with my wife every time we go to something wrestling because I run off. There you go. To me, I would recommend it to somebody, especially when we talk about legendary live albums. Like I said, you got to go with Kiss Alive, and I love that album. I'm a huge Kiss fan too, and I love this album. And you said start with the second side. I can remember when you said that. I had a memory of me listening to the second side of this album. And as soon as it was over, go and put the arm back to the front to the needle to listen to it all just over and over like that. Man, you got some interesting stuff going on. And I want you to plug it first. You got a really fun music thing that's just I'm jealous about. But let's plug your wrestling projects first.
Okay. Well, I do have a few kind of summary quotes from
Okay. All right.
Rick Nielsen, it was 4 guys from the Midwest doing what they do best, playing live. The songs still stand up. We made the Budokan famous, and the Budokan made us famous.
Oh, wow.
And Robin Zander said, if it weren't for Budokan, it may have been the end for us. We were in debt by about $1 million. That album saved us from probable obscurity. So anyway, some fun quotes. I've been doing a project with Ray Russell on WrestleCopia, where we've been looking at ICW, International Championship Wrestling, the Paphos Outlaw territory. Started in 1979. Really, people think that it ended in 1983 when Randy started working with Jarrett and Lawler, but ICW was still running shows through like 1985 when Randy went to the WWF at the time. That's when they stopped running shows. That's been a whole lot of fun doing that project. It was just
I love it because you gave me some stuff that I just didn't know about, mainly because I always thought they were second rate. I told you this before when we talked about it. It was on a station, and I was in Paraguay or Marmaduke. I think Marmaduke's what I want to say. And I was watching. I see these guys talking about Jerry Lawler and Bill Dundee and challenging them, and I always thought that. I went back and watched some of the stuff, but the year that they had, and you'll tell me what year that was. They had a hell of a big year at one time, but then it just started crumbling because of everything that was going on around them.
Well, they couldn't get fresh talent in.
And they couldn't get good TV. They really didn't have great TV.
The TV was awful. The TV was so low budget. It was just almost like cable access, where me and you decide to put on a television show and we have no experience putting on.
The quality of this broadcast was better than some of their stuff. So and that's saying a lot.
Yeah.
What you're doing? You're DJing. Tell everybody about this. I love this.
Yeah. So there's a community radio station on Dallas called KNON, and they have a live station you can listen to in Dallas, and it's on your radio, and then they have a streaming station, an internet-based station that you can listen to anywhere in the world. And so for a few years, I've been doing shows with this woman. Her radio name is Jamie Brains. And we would just do shows on a specific artist. We would do shows on like Bo Diddley or, the Rolling Stones or whatever. We'd pick an artist, and we would just do a show on that particular artist. And I said, well, I'm really enjoying this, but I'd really just like to have my own show. And so now I have my own show. It's called The Kaleidoscope. And it's just free form radio as it could ever be, because I just play whatever I want. And generally it's got, I play 3 or 4 songs that have some sort of theme to it. It might be songs that, they have the word red in it, or songs about a place or something like that. But I'm playing, music from the 1940s and 50s. I'm playing new music. It's just all stuff that I like. And so it's
what I want you to do when we get done is send me DM me there in Facebook and give me a link, and I'll put in the description of this. Yeah. I want the link myself. When you talk about going to it, I'm better if you just push a link and get there.
Yeah. There's actually an app, a KNON app,
Oh, cool.
And people can toggle between the live radio station and the streaming station, and it works really well. But I'll definitely send you the direct link.
All right, cool beans, guys. We're going to do B-side confessions, and we're going to have the Duchess tell us what's up on the Patreon.
Coming up next is the Patreon portion of Hit Me With Your First Shot, B-side confessions, the After Dark bonus cut out of the episode. This is where the conversation goes a little deeper, a little wilder, and sometimes a little inappropriate. You've heard the main story. Now it's time for the confessions that didn't make the A-side. So pour a drink, turn the lights down, and get ready, because this track is strictly for the grown-ups.
Lordy.
All right, as everyone knows,
this
is a
B-side confessions.
It's playing again. Sorry, Duchess. We just want to hear your voice again.
Absolutely.
As everyone knows, best little music podcast in the business. I don't even know my catchphrase right now. That's pretty sad.
No, Duchess got in your head there, didn't you?
Yeah, I know. I was like, all right, best little wrestling podcast in the business. Be there.
Be there.
Be there. And as everyone knows, I love